What's up, UTU Trust Guardians? Welcome to another episode of the UTU Trust Guardian Interview series. Here's where we chat with team members, investors, partners, and supporters of UTU to learn more about their backgrounds, why they believe in UTU, how they're helping to increase trust across the entire internet. Today, we are speaking with the man, the myth, the legend, Sherman Lee. Sherman is an investor and trusted advisor of UTU. And he does a couple of other things as well. He's co-founder of Raven Protocol. He's a partner in Deep Ventures, a contributor to Forbes and Hacker Noon, and a ton of other stuff. Sherman, welcome. Super pumped to have you on the show. How are things going?
Hey, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a while since I've talked to you, especially like in this kind of format. Usually it's just over Telegram, right?
Yeah, it's all over Telegram. We live in that app.
Yeah, but yeah, in general, I'm doing well. Obviously, you kind of see the news at Raven. I'm seeing the stuff at Utu, but life is good, man. The market is, you know what? A lot of people say the market is bad. But if it stayed at this level for like the next 5 years, even, I'd be pretty happy. I don't know.
You got to zoom out, right? You got to zoom out.
I'm always on the log scale, so we're good.
Yeah, that's right. So before we jump deeper into what you've got going on, and I definitely want to learn more about your background, both on a personal and professional level. So tell us a little about yourself.
Oh man, let's see. Well, I'm an engineer by, I guess, training. I studied computer science at UC Berkeley. I specifically specialized, I guess, in machine learning in the classes that I took.
Yeah.
I took introduction to artificial intelligence in college and kind of just got into it. And then took a distributed computing. I pretty much have been doing machine learning since around 2008 or so. And I've really watched like this industry kind of grow from, when people were training like really tiny data sets on like a Windows laptop, and they were complaining. If you thought those were complaints, when people are training these huge data sets today and talking about they don't have enough GPUs, kind of looking back, it's silly.
Yeah, you've been doing, like, say, AI, machine learning, like back in like when you were with Ask.com and Yahoo, some really internet pioneers. And more recently, now with running Raven, it being a decentralized and distributed deep learning trading protocol. So tell us a little bit about just your philosophy with AI. You said you started it way back in college. Like, where did this passion for AI come from? What's your kind of philosophy around how AI can be applied generally?
Yeah. I guess my passion started, well, it was really based off the mathematics. Like, so I took like the introduction to AI course. I think it was called Introduction to Artificial Intelligence by Stuart Russell. This was at that time it was CS 188. And it was just like pretty much statistics and maths with a little bit of programming mixed in. But essentially it was like the programming was in Lisp, I believe, but it was based off like just statistics, like how many times a specific event happened with a specific, like, a category, and then assigning a percentage to it. And that was pretty much the whole course. And I had been taking like calculus and all these things, and most people apply, the applications of calculus were to like physics and things. And I was like, and in my head, I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool, but like, real world stuff. But like, as a programmer, when I saw what you could do with statistics in this class, I was just kind of blown away. I was like, wait, if I have like a 99% confidence based on like, this 10,000, like a small 10,000 row data set, and had like a 99% confidence of something being true, then I don't have to actually think about it at all too much. And as a programmer, that and statistics combined, it kind of just made a lot of sense, being able to take like a trained mathematical model and doing basically an if else then kind of statement around it.
Right.
And I guess that's how my passion started. And then over the years, just the advancements of the technology itself, the GPUs, the hardware, the amount of data that's being processed, it just started becoming a harder and harder, near impossible problem. And then my fascination actually was like, well, wait, people have been trying this since like 1960s and the 1970s, and they still haven't figured it out. Well, maybe
Yeah.
I'll take a try at it as well. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that my passion really is in the curiosity. I'm an engineer, I'm a programmer, and I just kind of like tinkering and making things work.
Yeah.
My co-founders are much more into the research behind the algorithms.
Mhm.
I'm more interested in the applications of them. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah, but cool. And that you need a little bit of both sides to that, right? To be able to really think deeply about those problems on the research side, and then be able to apply them to real world problems, on the application side. So yeah, so tell us a little bit about Raven and what you're doing there, and how you think, how decentralization might be able to help solve these problems in AI and these massive data sets that you're talking about that haven't been solved for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah. Well, I think the first like how I got into it, and this is like pretty philosophical, and I guess you kind of touched on this earlier, is this the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning right now is really trapped inside really large organizations.
Hmm.
Um, this is your Googles, your Facebook, your Amazons, and even especially Amazon. They have a lot of the hardware right now. um, so this kind of power being trapped inside large organizations, they don't have a huge benefit to kind of share the latest breaking cutting edge research with,
Yeah.
I don't know, startups like yourselves and ourselves. Even people that have been around for just a couple of years, there's like just not a huge incentive to share those kind of early stage algorithms that are being developed where those large companies have access first. They have a huge competitive advantage. But then philosophically, when you think about who in the world should have access to this, it really should be the entire community. Starting with, I guess it could be like just your typical university researchers who have to like basically beg, I guess, their professors for some compute time in this lab that's like hidden away on campus somewhere, where they may have some supercomputers. Who knows?
Yeah.
But also as we think towards open source, there's just a ton of developers in the world that are starting to understand machine learning. They're starting to understand the statistics and the mathematics behind it just by reading these research papers and understanding how to build it. And then the problem they're running into is, well, how do I actually have the compute resources to do anything about it? Am I going to pay AWS and spin up a few instances?
Right.
Yeah, I actually, as a developer, they actually do, and I actually did that as well. And you can even get like small grants as a startup or a
Sure.
nonprofit from these different cloud service providers. And then you burn through it very quickly. And then what are you kind of left with? If you still want to continue to solve that problem, you either have to basically apply for a PhD program or a master's program somewhere, or join a large corporation and hope that they're working on that problem that you wanted to kind of figure out and how to solve. And I guess sadly, that's the state of machine learning today. Is kind of the most breakthrough technology is, I would say, like, sadly, is being done at these large organizations.
Yeah. Yeah. So so with Raven, you're looking to just democratize that access to the data sets and to solving the problems of that you think only these large corporations can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially, right? So we're building a decentralized and distributed compute network that's just very specific for one thing right now. It is in AI and machine learning training. It doesn't do like, general compute or anything like that. I think there's other options that people may want to try if they're looking for just general compute. Maybe they'll just continue using AWS as well. But for machine learning, we've been able to democratize it, make it, like even if you use AWS itself and you're training very large data sets, like let's say, I don't know, a 1 million image data set, it takes you still a few weeks to do one training run. And at Raven, what we've built is a distribution framework, kind of from the ground up, where we bring that training time from a few weeks down to theoretically down to a few hours. If this thing actually works at scale, those are the really, a caveat, these are just initial benchmarks. And by being able to, by being able to bring it down, access to machine learning can, actually be possible for your normal everyday programmers. People don't have to wait weeks on end and pay these like exorbitant fees. Like literally, like for that training run that I was talking about, it would cost a couple of $1,000s just for one run. And then, if you want to optimize it, you have to train it again.
Yeah. So it sounds like, you're solving just this massive problem that you've seen from just the beginning of when you've learned about AI, which and I mean, hearing those initial benchmarks, that's a massive improvement in this in the compute time, and that's solving a massive problem. So like at UTU, we're in a way combining components of AI and then decentralization with the of trust with our blockchain protocol. So is that a big part of what attracted you to UTU? And talk a little more about how you discovered UTU and what helped you decide to invest and support us like you do.
Yeah. Well, I first met UTU in 2018, I believe, in Hong Kong, through Tak Lo. So he ran an AI accelerator called Zeroth, and he basically was one of the earliest, biggest believers in what UTU was working on at that time. At that time, like they hadn't even touched blockchain yet.
Yeah.
They were working on Mari Moja, a transportation app, purely just that. And they were talking about building out a trust infrastructure. And when I heard about it, when I heard about UTU, and they actually had, they didn't touch blockchain at all. I was like, wait, you mean like you're building a trust infrastructure for this, transportation app, basically like an Uber in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But like, ratings, reviews, trust, like it was just like at least for me at the time, it wasn't a perfect and obvious fit for decentralization. And that's kind of what got me into it. So, I mean, like they obviously like, Jason and Bastian, they were really smart. And Bastian, he was really great at machine learning on a technical level. And it was just fun kind of talking to him about that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, for me, like just to see that it was a perfect fit for blockchain, I knew that like these guys were on to something. Like they were open to it. Like when you talk to them, like, hey, like there's this whole, potentially a new internet out there, and you could provide KYC, you can provide trust, and all these things, credit scoring, whatever it is, like for all these users that actually, they may not be too interested in providing their like real life information, but with your expertise in machine learning and artificial intelligence, I believe there's a way that you can figure out based on the data that they're interacting. Even like just looking at someone's wallet, you can figure out how trustworthy they are based on the transactions that they're making, who they're making it with, and all these kinds of crazy things. I mean, that's how I got that. I mean, when I heard all of that, I was like how can I be involved with you guys? Like, I'm not going to be able to like join as like a team member or anything like that, because I've been working on Raven for a long time, but like I want to make sure that the technology you're building succeeds, and there's going to be people actually using it, because like this could be a really core piece of infrastructure on blockchain.
Yeah, so you saw that vision, from the very beginning, right? Like that's pretty amazing. No, because when you obviously have been involved since 2018. I came on starting on part-time back in October. And when I read about it, I had a um personal bad experiences with trust, like just from hiring freelancers and hiring and finding co-founders and just like having terrible experiences there. And when I thought about the vision and the just the scope of it all and the ability to touch Web 2.0 with working with businesses in increasing trust for these peer-to-peer platforms, and then you layer on the blockchain to be able to make sure data is immutable, to be able to change the economics of trust. And it's pretty similar to what you're talking about with Raven in terms of like, look, all these companies have all this data that um, uh, that they're hoarding from themselves and they're benefiting from it, right? And that's really the core of blockchain, is to be able to have the users and community benefit from it. And in the case of UTU, you're looking at all these businesses that benefit from trust by paying for fake reviews and hiring bot armies, right? Whereas there's not that much incentive for the users to write reviews there. There's some nice people who love writing about the products they buy, but really on the mass scale, there's not that much incentive. So it's really about changing that economic incentive, and then having that whole ecosystem just be that much more trustworthy, because that's what blockchain enables, right? So that's awesome that you saw that from the very, very beginning, and supported us from the beginning. So yeah, tell us more about just kind of how you've been contributing, and how you've helped us grow.
I would say like in the early days, a lot of it was just based on knowledge that I already had. Like, how do you how do you build an application for blockchain? How do you bootstrap like these economic incentives when you launch a token?
Mhm.
In 2018, when Jason and Bastion, they hadn't even touched anything in their code base related to Solidity or blockchain or any like a wallet or anything like that.
Yeah.
We had like really long, really drawn out discussions on like, first, does blockchain make sense for UTU as a business?
Hmm.
Just starting from those kinds of first steps, like what does it mean to actually have a token? What are the pressures that you'll face when you have a listed token? And all like in those like really early days, it's
Lots of
really talking
pressure.
about how to run a blockchain. I'm sure you know the pressures of having a listed token these days. Um, and by the way, I thought you did an amazing job since you've joined in increasing the value and the utility of the token.
Appreciate
Sorry, just had to throw that in
that. Thanks.
there.
Thanks.
But yeah, in the early days, it was just about like, how do we set up like all the groundwork for it, even like the legal frameworks of
Yeah.
like what jurisdiction should we be in? Do we need to have more than one jurisdiction? Like, how do you set up all these different entities where like
It's
you're running an
it's
international
insane.
multi-corporation,
Yeah.
like really from the early stage, and it's really important compliance wise, and especially with how big of a company UTU will become, like to nail those in the beginning. And we that's just what we talked about a lot in the early days. And then when when we talked about potentially bootstrapping with a token, it was about like, well, who are the right people that we need to bring on board to kind of make all of this happen? I believe in those early days is like even like trying to hire for a role like someone like you. It's like, well, do we need someone in that role? Like obviously it was yes. And then second is like, who would be the right person? Should they have experience on blockchain already, or should they, be able to learn it? And all these things were, if you hadn't run a blockchain business before, it's kind of really overwhelming, actually. Um,
Totally.
like, I mean, like when I started Raven, I had none of these answers at all, and it took kind of a long time to figure out,
Yeah.
speaking to different people. And I guess I'm glad I was able to speak through a lot of these things with the UTU team in the early days, and I think it made a big impact because look, I mean, look where everyone is at today.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, I didn't even know the extent to what you were, how you were involved and how early, to tell you the truth. And this is all, it's amazing to see how early you were, seeing the vision and operationally how much you've helped, take the company to where it is today. And I mean, even now, like, you've got a ton of things going on, and like you're just boom, like any question we have, you are like immediately responsive, super helpful. And we are absolutely fortunate to be able to learn from your experience. And like you said, it it is yeah, it's pretty stressful, having a token running, helping run a blockchain company. And even then, it's like Utu is unique in the sense that, talking about, we obviously have the crypto component, we've got the community, we've got investors, we've got a lot of things that we can and need to do with exchange listings and all the crypto side. But we've got a very kind of traditional B2B marketing sales side to run as well. And those messages, those tasks don't always align. But that's just another challenge to in running this. But I think it keeps us on its toes. It always makes us think about, always have to think about, well, what's the messaging we're putting forward, and just think through all the repercussions of everything that we're doing. But it's fun. It's a tons of fun. It's a lot of stress, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world right now. So, but again, we appreciate all the help you've provided, and yeah, you've been an amazing resource. So thank you so much for that.
Oh,
So,
I mean, I would say thank you guys. I mean, it's just been amazing to kind of be on the journey with you. I mean, selfishly, um, I learn a lot from you guys, right? Like the challenges that you run into, the different, even like the different technical problems and the challenges that you like when you run into something that I've never faced before. It helps me learn as well.
yeah, that's great. Yeah. So yeah, obviously, again, we'll love to continue working together, and definitely both as advisor and of course, both being in the AI space, obviously, looking at however we can work together with Raven and solving some of those problems and leveraging that community as well. So appreciate all your help. So all right, let's move on to the quick fire questions, where I will ask you 3 questions in succession to learn more about you. Number 1, tell us something unique and interesting about you that not many people may know.
Oh man, this is really like a tough question. I never really know how to answer these kinds of things. Um, I mean, I guess what would someone really? Okay, I guess this is kind of embarrassing. Um,
Yes,
so
love it.
like I'm I'm in a bunch of like private Slack groups,
Okay.
and one thing that people like kind of make fun of me about is so I mean I'm sure you understand like in crypto people always talk about flipping shit coins and all these things like
Sure.
people can't flip it fast enough. Um, but like over time, what people have kind of figured out about me is that I'm not a shitcoin flipper. Like I end up actually just holding utility tokens for the sake of like the potential utility. Like when people publish their roadmaps, I'm like, yeah, that would be amazing if it actually happened. And so like over the years, like when everyone's like, can I archive this Slack channel? Because I don't think anyone is holding this token. And I'm like the one that always pops up, but like I would actually like to still follow the news of this project. I still hold it. And so
You're
I guess that's
you're an eternal optimist, is what you're saying, right? No matter what, eternal optimist. That's awesome. Um, so if you could chat with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
oh, oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna bet that there are a lot of people who have lost their private keys after their unfortunate death. It'd be pretty cool if I could like facilitate speaking to that person and helping them direct the funds to the person that they choose. Um, maybe I could even develop a business out of it and charge like a 1% fee if this really worked. I don't know.
Like a dead man switch or something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that like there's a lot of people that don't have any contingency plans, and it's just like with blockchain, it's real unfortunate that like literally, if you don't have the keys, no one else can have access to those funds.
Yeah.
And if I can just help someone kind of turn back the time a bit, it would be pretty cool for them to think of like what they actually wanted to do with their funds, get it unlocked and get it to their loved ones.
It's very noble of you. All right, last one. What is something that you believe but few others agree with?
um, Again, this is kind of silly. And again, because this is crypto, a lot of people, they're not in it for the technology, and they're just purely in it for the speculation. So I would say that I'm one of few people that actually believe in the technology, whether the price is up or down, low or high. Um, and you know what? And again, like people make fun of me for this. It's like, dude, like crypto's dead. Why are you still like doing this? Like, shouldn't you go get a job or something? Like, like your friends who have like, I guess they would consider themselves to have like real jobs. Yeah, quote unquote. Um, so I
Yeah.
guess like something I do believe in is like the actual technology that's going to come out of it after like 5 to 10 years. Like even after the last like real big crash of 2017, 2018, or the last cycle, during those like few years, a lot of people actually didn't believe in the technology at all, and I was just like, what do you mean? Look at the Ethereum community, the developer community. There are tons of people still like building
Of course.
things,
Yeah.
they're researching, and something's coming out at the other end of it. And then I guess kind of as you saw with like the initial DeFi summer last year, people like it came back and people realized that. And then I guess when you reach that kind of position, you can kind of say like, see, I told you, it only took 3 years.
Yeah, this stuff takes long to develop, but also, I think a lot of people obviously here for speculation, but they're also here for the memes, I think sometimes, right? It was as shown by all the dog coins and Doge and all that. So can't leave that part out, right?
Oh, those are fun. I mean, like, another confession, like I looked into all the meme coins and I started like just buying some just for fun, but like after half an hour it felt like the feeling I got from it was like something equivalent to like eating candy for dinner. I just felt like this wasn't right.
Right, like
Something's not right with this. It's
you're
not
trying to
healthy.
build this, AI decentralized protocol, and then this dog coin comes in and gets all the hype, right? It's a little sad. It's fun, but it's a little sad.
Yeah.
Well, Sherman, hey, that's all we have. That was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for taking part in this interview. And of course, thanks so much for all the help that and all the support for UTU. So tell us where the UTU community can learn more about you, Raven Protocol, or anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah, I guess the easiest way to find me is on Twitter or something. At twitter.com/Sherman, SHERM, the number 8, N. Yeah, I'll be there.
Awesome. All right, Trust Guardians. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Sherman Lee. Please hit that like button if you did. There will definitely be more interviews to come, so make sure you hit those subscribe and notification buttons so you don't miss them. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Thanks again, Sherman, and great
Thank
talking
you.
to you.
Yeah, really appreciate the time today.
Same here.